It's going to be a reaction to Mudahar's "Your Identity is Being Stolen by AI" right now, and I absolutely don't doubt that. I mean, I've been playing a lot with the AI stuff, and the way the voice is getting really good right now. And I imagine that's probably what this is going to be. They probably use an AI voice of yourself to like call your bank or whatever that's got your information, have them probably get information out of them that you don't have to try and piece together a way to steal your identity or things, or even call a loved one, hey, I need some money, and it sounds just like you, and so they send it to them. So
Hello, guys
let's
and
see.
gals. Me, Mudahar. I might as well open a law practice considering I feel like I'm an expert on copyright law. Then again, every YouTuber can pretty much say the same. Have you ever uploaded a video on YouTube? Ooh, have you ever lost sleep because you thought maybe it could be falsely striked? Me, not really. Actually, yes, a lot. We all lose sleep. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's because copyright law is convoluted, and it's actually a law that's interesting today because guess who is suffering? A lot of those big tech companies like Microsoft, like Google, like, well, really any AI company these days. Now, obviously, we know AI is pretty common. You know, a lot of people like to use it to make funny memes, images, prompts. Some university students, during the golden age, if you will, used it to write out their entire essays. And for a time, it worked. But now artificial intelligence has counter artificial intelligence. It's just a massive situation to go.
This the AI detector stuff though isn't entirely without flaw. It'll still detect you even if you haven't used Chat GPT or something. So it's not perfect itself. So just like don't rely on Chat GPT to do 100% of the work, teachers shouldn't be using a detector to do 100% of the work either. Like use it to give you an idea of what's going on. Like, okay, this is, it says this is a high probability. Let's talk to the student, see how he responds to this.
Go through. It's so wild to me how we live in a time where there is a piece of technology that is advancing so fast that literally within weeks apart, two projects can make massive breakthroughs. It used to be a time where AI was generating like seven fingers on one person's hand or Will Smith sucking on like a boulder of noodles, but now it's getting to a point where deep faking, we're creating false images, we're creating
The image stuff is getting super advanced. I can use it to. I was playing with the other day. You can download. People have done models for your favorite anime character or something. And it's a perfect representation, the same art style you'd see in the anime, with no flaws really whatsoever. And I've seen some stuff where they're working on doing a series of images to give motion. That's still not there yet, but it's getting there. And then stuff that turns your flat picture into a depth map is there, and then moving on from that is a full on 3D model I've seen people working on, where it just takes your image and turns it into a 3D model. So it's getting there.
entire like prompts have gotten so good that in the next 2-3 years I wouldn't doubt that a lot of the TV shows you watch, the videos
Oh,
you
for
watch,
sure.
the media you consume, the articles you read are all going to be generated by an artificial intelligence. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence is not magic. It's not sentient. It's not like the Deus Ex. It's not the cool AI that we have. No, it's not Shodan. No, this is actually just artificial intelligence that is trained off of language models, or rather, it's language models that scrape tons of data off the internet. And it's because of how it scrapes data off of the internet that has caused lawsuits to spark up. Let's read some of them. So, ladies and gentlemen, OpenAI. For some of you who don't know what OpenAI is the company behind ChatGPT. Microsoft put in $10 billion to have a stake in this company. So,
Yep, and Bing uses it in search now.
these guys see something valuable behind it. Not just Microsoft, but the richest guy in the world, Elon Musk, has a stake, donations even, to the company behind it. So clearly, these are people that believe in this project. And the reason they believe in this project is because I personally feel ChatGPT is going to be the Google.com in the next 10 years. I feel like a lot of people are
I
going to
have
the
to agree.
homepage to ChatGPT or something like this,
Well,
type in their
that's
question,
Bing
and
is
be
already
given
using that.
exactly what they want within a second search. I really believe that's the future. Now, the way that these systems work is obviously if you ask ChatGPT to write some code for you, there's a pretty good chance that it's looking through GitHub and looking through a billion projects all in real time and coming up with the best possible case scenario for you. If you ask ChatGPT what the meaning of life is, it's an AI. It's not going to come up with the meaning of life itself. It's not even alive. What it's going to do is it's going to scrape Google, Wikipedia, a million websites, Reddit, Twitter, and discern what the meaning of life could be based on 100 different data points. That's how AI works,
Yep.
okay? If this is a new thing to you, at least you've learned now. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a class action lawsuit towards OpenAI. So if we read just the first part of it, they start off with on October 19, 2016, University of Cambridge professor Stephen Hawking. Yeah, the late Stephen Hawking even talked about artificial intelligence. Success in creating AI could be the biggest event in our history of our civilization. But it could also be the last. They said that about nuclear weapons. They said that about a billion things.
Yeah, they say that
But
about
artificial
everything.
intelligence could be the one thing that controls us, like MGS2. You know what I mean? Like straight up Patriots AI taking over. Might even be a thing. Anyways, that's a little bit of a diversion, if you will. Ladies and gentlemen, defendants have created powerful and wildly profitable AI and released it onto the world without regards for the risks. In so doing, defendants have created an AI arms race in which defendants and other big tech companies are onboarding society onto a plane that over half of the surveyed AI experts believe has at least a 10% chance of crashing and killing everyone on board. Humanity is now faced with these two
Well, who's your
frosty
AI
roads Professor
experts?
Hawking predicted. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it is actually that scary. There are AI experts that believe this might just lead to the end of humanity, and the
And
reality
a
of it
nuclear
is
bomb was
Google,
going to ignite the
Microsoft,
atmosphere,
Tesla, a
some
lot of
people
these
thought.
big tech companies are actually behind creating the best AIs possible, even if it means scraping a bunch of data that doesn't necessarily belong to them, which is kind of the core of this argument. So a class action lawsuit arises.
But courts have already ruled that it's legal to scrape data, even if you don't own what you've scraped. If it's on the internet, you can just scrape it away. Like, that's already established.
From defendants unlawful and harmful conduct in developing, marketing, and operating their products, including ChatGPT 3.5, ChatGPT 4, Dolly, and Volley. First time I heard of Volley, which uses stolen private information, including personally identifiable information, from hundreds of millions of internet users, including children of all ages, without their informed consent or knowledge.
So
Furthermore,
does
defendants
Facebook.
continue to unlawfully collect and feed additional personal data from millions of unsuspecting consumers worldwide. So, in reality, one of the things that they're kind of going for over here is anytime you upload things to Google, to Facebook, to really any service, and it's publicly available, it's not just Facebook or Google scanning their own servers to harvest your personal
No, it's
data.
everybody.
If you upload a photo of yourself
It's
that
anybody
could
who
be
wants
used
it.
for an AI designing, human faces, they could publicly scrape the data from every massive social media service or internet website they can find without ever needing your consent and drop that
100%.
into a training model that they can create an amazing product and basically sell your personal information effectively to the world. That's actually the argument being made.
Yep.
Now, this is going to sound like I'm against the future of technology, but I absolutely side against the big tech companies when it comes to this lawsuit. I actually fucking feel that this should be highly regulated in regards to how our personal private data is being used. That's the crux of this argument. Now, obviously, it's going to take years for this thing to go through. And
you can't
it's one of those
enforce
class
that
actions that we're not going to really
law.
see the fruits of for a while. But I really, really do hope that the courts and engineers and experts weigh in against these big tech companies and allow the government and people to actually take our data and put more privacy regulations on top of it. I really do. Without this unprecedented theft of private or copyrighted information belonging to real people communicated to unique commodities for specific purposes targeting specific audiences,
if you don't want
these products
people
would not
to
be
see it, don't put it on
multi-billion-dollar
the internet.
businesses that they are today. OpenAI used the stolen data to train and develop the products utilizing large.
You could put all kinds of laws in place to say, hey, you can't scrape this data that's on the internet. This is private data. And, Google and Facebook and all them, they won't be able to scrape it. But countries overseas are going to scrape it because they don't care about your laws. And all you're doing is hurting the development of Western-owned software. So if you gimp ChatGPT, okay, we don't get to use ChatGPT, but China's going to build their own clone of it, and they're just going to scrape away.
Large language models and deep learning algorithms. So what they're effectively going for, and this is one of the things that you saw about like AI art, or even like the AI writers,
Now I get when it comes to the companies and how they use it, you could definitely regulate that to an extent. But again, it's only going to be regulated in the country that regulation lies, and so there's only so much you can do. Like obviously you can ban the obvious stuff, like if they're using deep fakes to impersonate people. That's harming a real person. Don't do that. And then you could definitely try and stop that. You're not going to stop it fully, but you can at least combat that a little bit and prevent like full-on companies from making special deepfake software to put celebrities in porn or some stupid shit like that. But it's just going to be really hard to regulate anything when it comes to AI. And most of the people I see complaining, like the big companies that are like, "Hey, we got to slow down this AI because it's detrimental to society." They're just wanting it to be paused so they can get their own version of it spun up because they're behind. And maybe that's just me being cynical, but that's really all I see here is the other big companies are behind on the AI, so they want laws put in place to slow their competition down so they can catch up.
The writers' strike in California. This is literally actual human work being taken without permission and used to generate derivative works off of. Now, there are arguments that one could make. Isn't all human, products somewhat inspired by earlier works? You could make that argument, but this is absolutely infringing the copyrights of millions of people around the world just so a few companies can enrich themselves even further. It's actually criminal, in my opinion, and it should be stopped. Literally, they said once trained on stolen data, defendants saw the immediate profit potential and rushed the products to market without implementing proper safeguards or controls, which is absolutely true.
There should be no controls
put any safeguards onto it. This technology is basically allowed to run laissez-faire. And honestly, in defense of the big tech companies, I don't really see how you can put safeguards onto it when everyone is involved in such a public arms race.
No, try to put safeguards on it, and then when the safeguard fails, someone's going to try and hold you liable for that safeguard failing. So I would just say no safeguards at all. There's no way to enforce it, and it's just too big of a hassle for the company to have to deal with that. Like they could tailor how they train their data, but someone else is going to train it on the data they try to not train it on. So they're just hurting themselves by giving themselves handicaps.
Some of these projects are actually open source, meaning that like even if you wanted to put safeguards onto it, somebody could just remove them and make a more tantalizing product. It's literally not even profitable to treat this with any form of ethics, period. Now, even when it comes to other companies too, Getty Images, for instance, they're actually suing Stability AI. So the people behind like, Stable Diffusion, if you will, too. So literally they've said that Stability AI copied more than 12 million photographs from Getty Images' collection, along with associated captions and metadata without permission from or compensation to Getty Images. Now this is a much more like a standard lawsuit that everyone can kind of see coming. This is them literally arguing that they haven't been compensated for literally their data set being stolen, allegedly, by this company and used to create a product that they can then sell for billions of dollars.
I hope Getty loses
Now again,
that.
even when it comes to a lot of these services, most of the argument really comes down to who's being owed how much of the pie.
Yeah.
See, a few companies are making billions of dollars, and they're not ever creating this data set themselves. You think that when people make these AI Stable Diffusion like photo sets, the company is not generating this themselves. They're not paying or contracting people to generate a data set they can work off with.
It's just people
very
doing
cheap for them to crawl the entire web, download a bunch of images, and train off of that, especially knowing that since they're not redistributing those images, they can just train off of them, and hopefully the new derivative shit will never face copyright strikes or copyright situations whatsoever. What these companies and the law wants to do is make sure that if you're training your data set off of copyrighted images or videos, then you need to fucking pay your fair share. It is what it is. We all abide by this too. We all try to prevent shit from being stolen, okay? And that's pretty much what the crux of this argument comes down to. Even for Microsoft, lately, they haven't been able to get out of another lawsuit that they've been into, which involves GitHub, Microsoft, OpenAI, and programmers who argue that their works have been stolen and handed out for free with Microsoft's artificial intelligence. So, for instance, down over here, plaintiffs.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all going to have to be decided in court because, it's going to have to decide if it's just stealing it wholesale or if it's considered, fair use because it's taking the original work and making it transformative. Because, you get a math problem. You're not going to drastically change the math problem. A lot of that with programming is similar. Just because it looks similar to your code doesn't mean it's your code. But at the end of the day, it probably, without a doubt, was trained off of your code. So, it's hard to say. But the way I see it is that's really no different than me looking through a bunch of other people's codes and learning how to do something. The AI is kind of doing the same thing. It's not learning the way I would learn, but it's learning the way it learns. It's not just copying and pasting. It's learning what the code is supposed to look like, and it pieces together something that looks like it.
Are software developers who challenge defendants' developments and operations of Copilot.
We'll see
Copilot being like an AI partner program that you can use with GitHub projects. So as you're writing code, Copilot will just come in and fill things for you, right? It may not be perfect code, but it's designed to help you save hours of your life. Now, don't get me wrong, most programmers, if you ever worked, typically their second screen is just Substack or like something that they're copying information off of anyways.
Yeah.
But you could argue that, in a way, that's also plagiarism as well. There is a lot of plagiarism that happens in code. But this is just straight up ripping the Band-Aid off and letting people go willy-nilly, just inputting that right into the fucking IDE itself. Insanity. So all code uploaded to GitHub is subject to GitHub's terms of services. Also, Microsoft owns GitHub, by the way, don't forget that, which provides the users retain ownership of any content they upload to GitHub and grant GitHub the right to store, archive, parse, and display and make incidental copies as necessary to provide the service. The incidental copies are also just like backup stripes. So, if GitHub fails, like in one area, they can have those copies striped somewhere else. It's just how the internet works when it comes to distributing these massive cloud services. So this includes the right to do things like copy to our database and make backups, show it to you and other users, parse it into a search index, or otherwise analyze it on our server and share it with other users. Further, the terms of service provides the users who set their repositories to be viewed publicly grant each user of GitHub a non-exclusive worldwide license to use, display, and perform through the GitHub service. Despite it being a quandary, Microsoft still isn't able to get out of it. The judges involved will not toss out two of the key charges in the situation, which has caused Microsoft to stay in this for now. Now, alongside Copilot, one of the actual models that powers.
Honestly, I would think that the training data would fall under the analyze part, is what I would probably argue. But I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. But I definitely want to see how these court cases turn out. And it's honestly a good thing that there are court cases, because that's how you're going to decide this stuff.
It is Codex, which is basically a project that, as they describe, it's an AI system that translates natural language, like me and you speak, to code. And it's a pretty massive part. And it's a massive part that, the judges have effectively, the judge in this case, rejected the defense's motion to dismiss the plaintiff's claim that Codex's capacity to reproduce code represents a breach of software licensing terms. He also rejected the defense's effort to toss a claim under Section 1202 of the DMCA that Copilot and Codex reproduce copyrighted code without the required copyright management information, so author, title, owner, terms and conditions, and so on. So based on those two key allegations, this whole litigation can continue, which is not good for Microsoft, GitHub, and Copilot. As of recently, you might have heard of Bard, which is Google's version of like ChatGPT. It has actually come out where Google has recently updated their privacy policy like a day ago, where literally they said, for example, we may collect information that's publicly available online, or from other public sources. See how they're using the word public so much? Anything you can access that's not behind a login paywall to help train Google's AI models and build products and features like Google Translate, Bard, and Cloud AI capabilities. If your business information appears on a website, we may index and display it on Google services. So they're just straight up covering their ass and saying anything
Yeah.
that their crawlers can publicly access, again, without going behind paywalls, which is one of the reasons why Twitter, and I know there's been a fair bit of conspiracies around Twitter and its rate limiting. Some people have speculated that they haven't been paying their bills to Google, which I have conflicting information. Either they're paying for it or they're not. The other reality is, apparently, it seems like the website is making a bunch of requests because of a bad code update in the background. I don't know if that's completely valid either, but I do believe that publicly harvesting information, like AI models doing it to Twitter, is quite common. It's one of the reasons why Reddit has their API access up in a tizzy. It's why a lot of these social media services are worried because they're getting a fuck ton of extra traffic from companies they know are profiting severely off of the information that they have generated. It's actually costing social media companies a lot of money to basically for free give away their data sets to these companies like Google, Microsoft, so on and so forth. It's actually a massive, civil war that's kind of happening between these big tech corporations, and we're just here watching it for the ride. So obviously, this is Google just admitting that they will publicly do this, and it is what
Yeah,
it is. This
it's
is something
absolutely
that
there
every
to
company is
cover
going
their
to try
ass.
to do to create the best possible artificial intelligence, even if it means infringing on
They'd be
your personal
stupid
information,
to not.
infringing on everyone else's personal
It's
information,
absolutely an arms
infringing on
race.
basically the actual core ethics of how we use the internet in general. It is a fucked up world we live in, and it's really shown that a few companies absolutely will throw ethics and morality out the window if it means having the highest share price on the NASDAQ. When it came time that Microsoft was going to drop Twitter from its advertising platform because of those API fees, Elon Musk even alleged that they trained data illegally using Twitter. And I don't actually discount what Elon is saying over here. I'm pretty sure Microsoft did, allegedly. And it's one of those
They
things that's
probably
been
did,
pissing everyone off. It should piss you off,
but
but
it's not
also it should
illegal.
put a smile on your face when you see rich assholes and big tech assholes go up against each other. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the future of the world. Consolidation of information and artificial intelligence basically driving our every thought and whim. Insane world that we live in. You know what? I grew up in a time of Newgrounds and Angel Fire. And if it's one thing I want to end this video off, please, please, let's go back to simpler times. Let's go to a free webs time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a good time on the
Always
internet.
went to
Ladies
You're
and
the Man Now, dog, is where I went.
gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. If you get I don't know, like 300 likes on this video, then I promise I'll show you guys my first free webs website. It's cringe as hell. It's got some evanescence on it. But I'll promise to make a video on it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and I'm out.